Hi, welcome to An Adventure in Time and Space History. Today I am going to talk and discuss about the documentary An Adventure in Space and Time. Um, I end up watching it when I was looking on Amazon when I had Amazon Prime and looking at the different episodes of Doctor Who, trying to find some episodes basically, and came across that. And I was like, well, okay, I'm going to watch it. So, and then I again rewatched it because I want to give, this discussion because it's this documentary, which doesn't feel like a documentary. It's about the story of how Doctor Who began. And I figured I would want to share that with you. I found IMBD. I went on their webpage, basically, whatever, um, is with that title of that documentary movie episode, whatever. Um, and this is what it said. The storyline is in 1963, Sidney Newman, progressive head of BBC TV's drama department, wants to fill a Saturday tea time slot with a show with youth appeal and hits on the idea of an August figure like Doctor leading a group of companions on time travel adventures. He engaged an experienced young producer, Verity Lambert, to expand the idea. Fighting sexist and racial bigotry, Verity and the young Indian director Waris Hussain persuades Corsi character actor William Hartnell to play the Doctor figure. And despite technical hiccups and competition with the coverage of the Kennedy assassination, the first episode of Doctor Who is born. As the show becomes a success, Hartnell displays an obsession with his character, but after 3 years, ill health catches up with him, and he starts to forget his lines. Newman tells him that Doctor Who will regenerate, and he will be replaced by a younger actor, Patrick Troughton. Though attached to the part and reluctant to give it up, Hartnell wishes every success to Troughton. Um, that's just what I found out the storyline on IMBD, basically. Sorry. Um, the thing is when you first clip you would see, you have the speech of, you know, the person talking basically to tell you about it, just, an introduction basically. When this film starts up, you see William Hartnell in a car, and it's dark and foggy, and a policeman, and you see a police box over there, public police call box like the Doctor Who has. And the guy comes on and asks, "Are you right, sir? Are you right? Move along, move along." And he wasn't hearing, so he had to knock on the window. And then he dries off. That is the starting, just a glimpse, basically. The brief little glimpse of basic. I don't know how to put it, but it's just basically showing you the end, showing you a glimpse of it, and then starting from there. I know it's kind of confusing to try to explain that, but that's how they start off. So you have Sidney Newman, and he's just walking around, just talking with these other guys, and he thinks of an idea of a new show, which I write in that storyline on IMBD, basically, about he wants to fill this time slot and just grab their attention, basically. And he's talking along, and the other guys are with him. Couldn't commit to doing that, and told Sydney, and he says, no, I was not, asking you. And that's when he ends up calling Verity Lambert into his office, basically to talk to her. It mentions about this new show and everything, and everything. And at first, she thought, she was going to work with him, and that's basically. He says, no, I want you to produce this new show. Now, it's interesting, basically, that is a woman that's worked with him, and they work together, that he has to produce this new show called Doctor Who. And he tells her the idea, tells her all the, everything. And he says, I want, because I want someone who has piss and vinegar, which means they are stern, basically tough. Which I don't understand why they say piss and vinegar. I could never understand that terminology, but to me, I look at it as being tough and being, stern, and that's my view. And then she meets this Indian guy who's directing it behind, and she's like what we would consider the showrunner, the producer of the show. And then she has this director helping out, and he's an Indian guy. And then she walks into this office. All these guys are going. You see it before she walks in. They're showing all these guys are looking at all these pictures to figure out who's going to be the one they want to get for Doctor Who. She walks in. The guys think differently. Didn't think that this woman was going to be doing this show. They thought something else, because back then in 1963, women didn't hold high positions. They didn't have jobs like women have these days back in 1963. So it was, that's the reason why the men, didn't think she was the one in charge. And then she says, well, you're in my office. And then she says who she wants, the actor she wants to play as the doctor in this show, Doctor Who. And it was William Hartnell. Now, they were at this restaurant with William Hartnell, really trying to sell the show to him. Now, the TARDIS wasn't created. The TARDIS wasn't built. The TARDIS wasn't built. The script, they tried to say, oh, wonderful scripts are coming along. Well, the scripts were still going through over and over and over, but they were really trying to hard sell it, basically. And since it's a new show, and you're trying to get an actor or actress, you got to make them excited about the role, make them excited about the show that they're going to be playing in, this new show. Basically, that was the whole gist of it, is they were trying to hard sell, which means they were trying to get him on board. because Verity wanted him. He was just the right person she was looking for. And when he finally agreed to do it, to be the doctor, um, next we see is they're in an area going through the lines in reading them, and you got person who played Barbara, person who played Susan, and Ian. The three people, the two school teachers, and the doctor's granddaughter. So they're all there, reading, going through their lines, and he walks up to Verity and he says, "The starters, I need to know buttons and all this, that, and the controls and all that stuff, because he says, I don't want to, this, now, I want to, the controls of the TARDIS." So, basically, and then he meets, Cindy Newman comes, and you see a part where Cindy Newman comes in, and then Verity takes, has him meet William Hartnell, and their joke, and he goes, "Oh, pop, 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 pop," and that was just his style of doing it. Doing just his way of, his personality, basically. The thing is he talked with, in like, uplifted William Hartnell, not uplifted, but just, made William Hartnell feel good and stuff. Then we see where we see the studio where it's going to be, how they're getting all that stuff together. And the cameras and everything. You see all the stuff going on. And then you see she walks into the design department in the BBC. And she talks with this guy who designs, and she sits down here and she says, "Well, I can be very patient." And she sits there and she explains that she wants a target and all this and that. And, really good. And he takes out this cardboard type and punches these little round things where you get the round thingies. If you see the TARDIS, you see those little roundies, basically. And he puts a spool and he puts a thing over top of it. And he says, "There's your TARDIS." And she looks down into it, and as the camera looks down, in the way it's built, then it fades off to the actual TARDIS. After it was built, the control panel and all that is all done, and you see all the stuff, and you also see this thing go up and down, which when you watch Doctor Who, when the TARDIS in flight, there's this thing that goes up and down like that, and you see that as you'll see that, and this is where they were taping Unearthly's Child, and at first he was very rough like, and she pulls him aside and talks to him. And she said, "I want for Christmas with a twinkle in his eye," basically. She wanted a more relaxed, basically. So, you see that. And then the thing about Cavemen, basically. And they were in the studio. And this one studio, if it gets so hot, the sprinklers go off. And they're taping, all of a sudden it's getting real hot. And next thing you know, you hear the noise sound and the sprinklers going off. I mean, that's kind of interesting, but it's just, back in 63, they didn't have the fancy studios. They didn't have the fancy, they taped where they could tape the show. Whatever studio they had, they taped it, basically. So they didn't have a whole lot of choice like they do now. They didn't have all the equipment and stuff like that. They had what they had, basically, at the time. Well, as it was going on, um, you could see, uh, you could see all the stuff. Um, at one point, this guy was in there talking with Cindy Newman, saying, "Well, she's over budget." And then Cindy Newman calls her into his office, and he was just about ready to axe Doctor Who, and tell her, says, "You're over budget. And then what about these? He couldn't say Daleks. He didn't. And she goes, Daleks. And she had to make sure he knew how to say it right. And she says, they're not bug-eyed monsters. And she explains because of the radiation and all that stuff. And and she wanted to keep the show. And she reminded him that he wanted someone with piss and vinegar in the veins, basically. I don't know what that whenever they say, when that's mentioned, you know, I don't know the terminology. I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Um, but basically, he wanted someone that would stand up and be stern enough. And if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have Doctor Who with her guts to stand up and, stuff like that. So, and then after that, we see her riding on the bus and the kids going, exterminate, 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 and giggling and running and everything. Like, you figure kids would be scared about the Daleks, because they don't look too friendly, but they're laughing. And here she says she wanted to be out and see the audience, their audience, get a gist of their eyes, the people who watch the show. And she said, how many, I can't remember the number of viewers who watched the show, but it was really high for a new show. And they were all excited and everything. And then you see William Hartnell. He's out there sitting on a bench with his wife and his dog's right there on a leash. And the kid comes over, and you see him walking with the kids, saying, about the Daleks and running and stuff like this. And you can see the excitement of you see it before with his granddaughter. Before he got the role and started working as the Doctor in Doctor Who, he was very gruff and very snappy with his granddaughter. After he got the role and he started playing the Doctor, you could just see a side of him with, when it comes to kids. You could see that side of him. But as it goes on with each tape and everything, and then at one point we see there's a party for Verity because she's leaving, and it said William Hartnell as well that she was leaving. But he says until we meet again, basically. And there was a talk, and then he says, well, till we meet again, basically, is what he said. And after that, you see him starting to flub his lines and standing there and like zoning out. And he had problems with his heart, basically. As his wife says, too much drinking and smoking, basically, all that stuff. Back then, they didn't know that smoking and doing all this drinking was harmful to a person. Basically, they have no idea. You would see TV shows from that era, and they would be smoking, But now it's like they don't have real cigarettes; they're like, fake. if they do a movie where that's in there. Um, so Sidney Newman was in his office with William Hartnell, and it was at nighttime, and they were talking. And William Hartnell was telling him about as a doctor and less lines and all this stuff and all this sort of things. And that's when he broke the news to William Hartnell that he was going to be replaced. And you could see the look in his face of sadness. And when he was told who his successor would be, but before that, Sidney says, "You're really a hard act to follow, basically. You're a hard act. You're hard, which means you're really great. And for someone to come in and take over as a doctor in Doctor Who, it says, I'm going to say this, they had pretty big shoes to fill." So when he was told who his replacement was, he let Sidney know that they picked a really good choice. Patrick Troughton was a really good choice for them to pick to play the Doctor. As he's leaving, he's in his car, and we go back to that scene that they showed at the beginning. He's sitting in his car, and there's a policeman that says, "Are you right, sir? Are you right? Move along, move along." And then William Hartnell rolls the window down, and when the police officer said, you need to move along and everything, he realized that this was the person who played the Doctor in Doctor Who. And he, as William Hartnell's driving along, he says, "I'll tell my kids, I met all this nut," kind of excitement, basically. He got back home, and he's told his wife and everything, and they're talking and everything, and she walks off in their room, and he starts to break down and starts to cry as she walks back out, and it's kind of interesting to know that a man can cry, because they were always told to be tough. But behind closed doors, we don't, we don't know basically if a man cries behind closed doors. We only know, the men in our lives, basically, that sort of thing. And he told his wife, he said, "I don't want to go. I don't want to go," which means he didn't want to let the part go because it was such a part of him. And he was just so much part of the character and of the show. And it hurt because it's like he felt connected to the character. He felt special, basically. And he was crying because he didn't want to. But he knew he had to because his failing health. The next part we see is he's in the TARDIS, and he turns on the switches, and the thing is going up and down, that in the TARDIS, basically. And Patrick Troughton is over on the side, and he's going by, and they count down, and they fix his skull, and you see him switches everything, and the camera looks over, and you can see Matt Smith, basically, which is it's kind of funny because you have this is the whole history of how the show started out. So to have him in there, it was just a brief glimpse. Just they did this, I think, for the 50th anniversary special, basically, a different view to let them know, hey, this is how this show started, how it came about. And it was interesting to see Matt Smith because Matt Smith was the last person to play the Doctor before he regenerated. So before Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith, at that time they didn't know uh, that Peter Capaldi was going to be the 12th Doctor, basically. But they did this with the 11th Doctor being right there. It was like a glimpse into the future, basically, is what I get the gist of it. Um, like I said, this thing does not feel like a documentary. It felt like a, you know, dramatic, like a type of show. It didn't. It just gave a brief history and showed you step by step where it all came from and how it came about and all that. And then, you know, Patrick Trout walks up to William Hartnell and William Hartnell, which is him, you know, said everything, you know, letting him know of like a congrats, basically. And this was a very interesting um, show, basically. Doctor Who first aired January 23rd, 1963. That's when it first aired. Now, if it wasn't for Verdi Lambert standing up and getting the guts when Cindy Newman would pull the plug on, you know, pull the plug of the, you know, pull the plug on the show, you know, end it. If it wasn't for her standing up and saying what she said, we would not have the show today. We wouldn't have Russell T Davies bringing back Doctor Who in 2005. We wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have Peter Davison. We wouldn't have Tom Baker or John Pertwee or Colin Baker or Sylvester McCoy or Paul McGillen. We wouldn't have New Who with Russell T Davies, Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. We wouldn't have any of that if it wasn't for Verdi Lambert standing up and saying and getting the guts to keep the show going, to keep it going. You know, I give her credit because she stood up, and since she stood up, we have all these people who are fans of Doctor Who. They'll call themselves Whovians, loving the show. You know, we have people that can, you know, share their love and their passion for this show. I know I'm American, and it was filmed, and it's a UK show, basically over in the UK. But it also came over here into America. Um, I've watched things on YouTube with the doctors saying, classic doctors saying when they came over here from Comic Con, or however you say, they came over here to the U.S. and they couldn't believe all the people here in the United States and how much of fans are here in the United States for Doctor Who. I think Doctor Who trends everywhere because Doctor Who is Doctor Who. The Doctor is, you know, is for everybody. That's the way I look at it. The Doctor is just a person, a guy who runs about saving people, saving planets, and just overall trying to bring peace. So, and because, that's what the doctor does. The doctor is someone who's that right person, basically, that, out there makes a difference. So basically, I want you to, if you get a chance, watch that documentary, which is called, but it's a show, basically, an adventure in space and time about the story of Doctor Who, the history of Doctor Who, and how it came about. And then let me know what you think of it. And put that down in the comments there and let me know what you think. And also, if you like this this video, click the like button. If you don't, click the unlike button. Doesn't matter. And share this with others. And also subscribe and click notify so you can get notifications of other videos our videos I put out, and and share it with others who have such passion for the show, love the show, and just share, let people know about this so they know that there's other people that love, who also love the show, can watch this. I'm sorry, I'm just off script here. I don't really write a script, but basically, all I want is to get the word out there, to others. I have done reviews on the 9th, 10th, and on the 11th Doctor, I did series 5. So my next videos on the 11th Doctor will be series 6 and series 7. Because the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, was on as a doctor for 3 seasons. So that's the reason why I do that. So, anyway, I'm going to leave you with this thought. I'm going to not leave you with a thought. I'm going to leave you with a script. Quote, basic. One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. And to then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward on all your beliefs and prove to me that I'm not mistaken in mine. That was William Hartnell to his daughter Susan. Someone told me the episode that was in, but I can't remember. So, all I want to say is thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, wherever you want. If you watched the show, An Adventure in Space and Time, let me know what you think of it. Basically, if you do, if you watch after this, let me know what you think of it. And if you have watched it, let me also know. If you have watched and you're watching this and you watch this video, let me know what you think of that documentary show. I also want to give a shout out to Not My Doctor Who, Blue Bond Whovian, and stuff like that. They put out stuff about Doctor Who, videos and certain things. So, anyway, thanks for watching. And you all have a good day.